So what tools should you have when you get into RC racing or any type of RC, like airplanes, boats, whatever it is? I always suggest getting a nice tool set because it's going to save you a lot of time when you're working on your cars and your airplanes and other RCs. It's also going to save your fingers because nice tools, you don't have to grab onto little Allen wrenches or things like that. You can grab onto a tool that has an actual handle meant for your hand. So I'm going to show you what kind of tools I use, and this is what I bring to the track with me when I go racing. So I'm going to start over here. I have a whole set of drivers that I use for all my cars. They range from like this is a 2.5 millimeter, and then they go down to a 0.05, and these are all Team Energy. So I've got a set of those, and then I've got a set of these Dynamite Drivers. This one's a 1/16, and then I have a full set of the Team Associated, and this is a cool tool because you can pull it apart, and it has a whole bunch of different drivers on here, and they're all labeled what they are. So that's a really nice tool to have. Next I've got a Team Associated driver. This is a Phillips, so it's a nice Phillips head screwdriver, and that's always nice to have, is something like that. And then I've got another tiny, this is a 0.05 again. I've got a driver for my wheel nuts on one of my cars. I also have, of course, you have to have a razor blade or an X-Acto knife, and this is a racer's edge, because you never know when you're going to need to cut something or trim something, trim some plastic. Always have a nice set of body scissors with you, because you never know when you'll need to trim a body or when you need to cut a piece of Lexan, and that's nice to have. I then have 3 different brushes that I use. I have a toothbrush, which doesn't last very long. You do have to replace it pretty often. And then I have 2 brushes that have hard wires, like a wire brush. This one's a little softer and this one's harder, so this one would be used for like scrubbing, let's say, mud off of like the bottom of a chassis or something, and that's why I have that for. I also have a body reamer, because you never know when you'll need to put new holes in a body. And then I have my Needlenose Pliers, and I use these all the time. This is probably one of the most useful things that you can get. I then, up here, I have a 1/8 scale wheel driver. It's also got the end for a glow plug, so it's got different sizes in it. Tells you what the sizes are on here. I then have a little carbon fiber tool that I use for some of my cars for the turnbuckles, because they're not a normal size. I then have a little 4-way wrench, and this is for wheel nuts, and then sometimes on your car you'll have nuts for like your turnbuckles and things like that, like ball cups, and that's pretty good to use for. And then I have a big set of pliers, because you never know when you'll need to grab onto something with a set of pliers. I always have a few of these in here just because you never know when you might break a nice driver, so I always keep these with me. This is something I picked up maybe a year or 2 years ago. It's an electric driver, so like instead of having to use your hand and crank on something over and over and over, you can use this. It's not very high torque, so you're not going to strip out screws and strip plastic, things like that. It stays charged for a really long time. I think I got this one at Lowe's. You just plug it in. It's got a built-in battery in there. And what's cool is I can use this with the drivers that come in this tool, or I can use my Offna set, and these will all fit into this electric driver, which is nice. And I've got a few different tools here, Phillips flathead, and then it came with the handle, so you can always use the handle. So that is a few of the tools that I bring to the track with me every time.